you do not sell your Bitcoin.
Is that Congress is actually actively working on legislation that would provide additional regulation for the underlying digital commodity spot market, so including the Bitcoin spot market. And this actually has a real chance of getting done before the end of the year. The chair and ranking member of the Senate Agriculture Committee has introduced the Digital Commodities Consumer Protection Act, the DCCPA. And this is a pretty good framework for regulating centralized exchanges in the spot markets. There is one outstanding issue around decentralized finance. These are software protocols that operate completely differently than custodial centralized exchanges. But that's an issue that's being worked out. I'm optimistic we'll come to a good resolution there. But yeah, I think there's a decent chance we could see legislation signed into law before the end of the year.
Welcome to the Crypto Teacher. And you know I come back with that video just to make you think.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.
And guys, we have the Bankman acting as the SEC. But guys, we know this is no different from what Coinbase is doing. Coinbase is a publicly traded company, and they also supposed to be reviewing. But as Gary Gensler stated, there's still a lot of cryptos that are on these exchanges that are still securities. And they're not going to delist them. Why, guys? Because these exchanges are banks. They're getting money off of all these trading fees. That's the reason why they've been kicking regulation down the road. We know the SEC knows which ones are securities or not. We know we're watching a movie. Just sit back and get your popcorn. Now, once we get regulation, we can get a spot Bitcoin ETF. And we know that's going to stabilize the price. Remember, they don't want the casino to stop. These volatile swings, whether it goes up or down, they make money. And when we look at the UK, we know that the central banks are responsible for it all. And all the major central banks are moving up rates at the same time, shrinking balance sheets at the same time. Why, guys? Because we know when it comes to the New World Order, it's all planned out. You have a wonderful day.
The pound weakening and there have been years of what you could call mismanagement by central bankers at the Bank of England. But it was the actual budget worries about the tax cuts. But you point out the energy subsidies, which were actually much higher and probably more detrimental to the deficit over in the UK.
Well, there was some cognitive dissonance in the actual plan that was laid out by Kwasi Kwarteng, and that they were offering these fiscal transfers, the subsidies, which are inflationary. But at the same time, I think that was a political trade-off to improve the fracking potential and to provide more rights to have a better energy policy in the country. You bring up a very important point about causation. The budget was received by people who don't generally like a tax-cutting, pro-growth, regulation-cutting economic agenda. There are people who don't go for the supply-side approach. They kind of prefer a redistributionist approach by government. So I think they were gunning for the plan. And it was just the day before that the Bank of England only raised 50 basis points when our Federal Reserve, as you pointed out, raised 75. Now, global capital has no flag. It chases the best rate. So it shouldn't be surprising that we saw a change in the dollar-pound exchange rate. So I think for the central bankers to then be the first to criticize the program is more than ironic. It's quite inappropriate. And the reason we saw the problems in the gilt market also reflects bad monetary management for all those years. It was a sudden arrival of a fairly obscure derivative, these liability-driven investment funds that pension funds use to hedge the risk on future payouts. That suddenly became an issue because when you have huge interest rate differentials that move financial capital around the world like that, you're going to cause market disruptions. And that's what forced the hand of the Bank of England to have to start buying its own sovereign debt. And that affected the gilt market and interest rates in Britain.
we're going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go. But clearly, we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
This effort, and China has big plans for this. They intend to seed their digital yuan into the global environment by giving it away to visitors at next winter's Olympics. When they arrive at the airport, they're going to get yuan digital wallets. They're going to receive digital yuan. They're going to use it throughout their visits to Beijing, and then they're going to take it back to their home countries. They see this as a huge advantage. Why? Because who controls the underlying protocols, who controls the underlying standards of the future of money will control the future of money.
The most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs. And guys, you know I truly believe in this. When you look at the New World Order, they're the storytellers. And that's the reason why I wrote my New World Order book. But guys, now it's time to change the current generation. And I wrote 3 kids' books. You know I love the Trinity because I understand the power that's in it. So I have 3 books. We have an opportunity to change the generation, to educate, not just me, but I want to show you that I take action on a daily basis. And I want you to take action on a daily basis. Whether it's your job, whether it's in your community, we have an opportunity right now to educate the masses. I posted this on my Twitter account. Please share, but this is a short clip of the 3 books. There's going to be a clothing line and action figures. Please get these books for your kids, nephews, cousins, friends, so therefore we can start the re-education now. Because as we see, the 4th Industrial Revolution foundation is definitely here. Robots, algorithms, drones, taking humanity out the picture. We have to re-educate. But let's get into the video.
Part 1. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save the village. Part 2. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save New York from COVID-33. Part 3. King Joshua and Grandma Tam goes to China.
It's mandatory to get part 1, part 2, and part 3 of this series. It's time to re-educate Generation Z.